At 59, Kevin Schwantz finally reveals the 5 riders he feared the most. Kevin Schwantz rode a motorcycle like a man who had already accepted death, sideways through corners, rear wheel spinning, heart wide open every single lap. They called him the wildest rider in 500 cubic centimeters history. But at 59, the Texan who feared nothing on 2 wheels has finally admitted the truth. There were 5 riders who made his blood run cold, and one nearly ended his life. Kevin Schwantz came from a place where motorcycles weren't a career, they were survival. Born in Houston, Texas in 1966, Schwantz grew up racing dirt bikes in the brutal southern heat where quitting meant weakness, and weakness meant you didn't belong. He arrived in the 500 cubic centimeter world championship in 1988, riding a Suzuki that was slower than every factory bike on the grid. Didn't matter, he rode it like he stole it. Won the 1993 World Championship with a style so aggressive that engineers said it shouldn't work. But it did, because Kevin Schwantz wasn't built by logic. He was built by fire. Number 5, Eddie Lawson, the man they called Steady Eddie. And Schwantz hated that nickname because it made Lawson sound boring. He was anything but. When Schwantz entered the 500 cubic centimeter class in 1988, Lawson was the reigning champion. 4 titles already in his pocket. Oh, and he rode with a calmness that made Schwantz feel like a street fighter who had walked into a chess tournament. Lawson never panicked, never overreacted, never made a single unnecessary movement on the bike. And that terrified Schwantz because every weapon in his arsenal was built on chaos. Schwantz would dive into corners at suicidal angles, hoping to break his rival's concentration. But Lawson didn't flinch. Not once. He would watch Schwantz's wild moves in his mirrors and respond with the exact same lap time, using half the effort. Schwantz admitted that racing Lawson made him feel stupid, like he was burning every ounce of energy in his body, while Lawson was reading a newspaper on the way to the podium. That gap in efficiency haunted Schwantz, because deep down he knew he could never ride like Lawson. His body wouldn't allow it. His mind wouldn't allow it. Oh, and fighting a man whose greatest weapon is patience when your greatest weapon is fury is a war you can never win. Number 4, Mick Doohan, the Australian who turned the 500 cubic centimeter class into a dictatorship from 1994 to 1998. Schwantz and Doohan overlapped for several brutal seasons, and the battles between them were violent. Not dirty, violent, because both men rode with an aggression that left no room for negotiation. But what Schwantz feared about Doohan wasn't the speed, it was the anger. Doohan rode angry, every single race. Even when he was winning by 10 seconds, his body language on the bike screamed fury. And Schwantz recognized that anger because he carried the same thing inside himself. But Doohan's version was colder, more controlled, more dangerous. After Doohan's horrific crash at Assen in 1992, where he nearly lost his leg, Schwantz expected him to come back slower, softer, more careful. Instead, Doohan came back meaner. He won 5 straight championships on a leg held together by metal pins and willpower, and Schwantz watched that transformation with genuine fear. Because a man who almost loses his leg and comes back faster isn't just talented, he's possessed. And you cannot beat a man who is possessed. You can only survive him. Number 3, Wayne Gardner, the Australian who won the 1987 World Championship and brought a raw physicality to 500 cubic centimeter racing that nobody had seen before. Gardner was big, strong. He wrestled the motorcycle through corners like he was in a bar fight with it, and he crashed, a lot, but he always got back on, always. Schwantz and Gardner fought on track with a violence that made television commentators nervous. Elbows touching at 160 miles per hour, fairings banging through chicanes, neither man willing to give an inch. But what Schwantz feared most about Gardner was his unpredictability. You never knew which Gardner would show up on race day. Some Sundays he was untouchable. Other Sundays he would crash on the first lap. And that randomness made him impossible to plan for. Schwantz could study data and prepare strategies for consistent riders. But Gardner was chaos, fighting chaos. And when two men who ride on pure instinct meet on the same corner at the same speed, somebody is going to the hospital. Schwantz knew that every time he lined up next to Gardner. But the last two names aren't just riders who scared Kevin Schwantz. Oh, they're the two who changed his life forever. Number 2. Mick Doohan again? No, this is different. This is Daryl Beatty. Wait, no. Number 2 is the man who haunted Kevin Schwantz every single night for 30 years. Wayne Rainey, his best friend, his worst enemy. The greatest rivalry motorcycle racing has ever seen. Schwantz and Rainey came up together in American racing. They knew each other before Europe, before fame, before championships. And they pushed each other with an intensity that went beyond sport. It was personal. It was spiritual. Every race between these two men was a conversation that words could never have. Rainey was everything Schwantz wasn't. Smooth, calculated, patient. He won 3 consecutive championships from 1990 to 1992, while Schwantz threw away races with crashes caused by trying too hard. And that's what Schwantz feared most. Not Rainey's speed, his intelligence. Rainey knew exactly how to beat Schwantz. Like, let him lead, let him push, let him ride at 11/10, and then wait for the crash. It worked over and over again. Schwantz would be leading by 3 seconds and throw it away because his brain couldn't accept riding at anything less than maximum attack. Rainey understood that weakness and exploited it with surgical patience, but the fear turned to something worse on September 5th, 1993. Misano. Rainey crashed in a race and hit the barriers. Spinal cord injury, paralyzed from the waist down. Forever. Schwantz was on the track when it happened. He saw the helicopter. He saw the silence in the paddock. And that night, Kevin Schwantz didn't sleep, because the man he feared most on a motorcycle would never ride one again. Schwantz won the championship that year, the only title of his career, and it tasted like ash, because the one man he wanted to beat more than anyone in the world wasn't there to fight anymore. That fear of Rainey never left. It just changed shape, from fear of losing to fear of what this sport takes from the people you love. Number 1, himself. And if that sounds like a motivational poster, you weren't listening. Kevin Schwantz's greatest fear was never another rider. It was the voice inside his own head that told him to go faster when every signal said slow down. It was the impulse that made him brake 10 meters later than any sane human being. It was the addiction to the edge that gave him everything and took everything in return. 25 victories, 1 world championship, and a body broken so many times that doctors lost count. Schwantz crashed more than any champion in history. Broken wrists, broken collarbone, torn ligaments, shattered ankles. Every injury was a receipt for the way he rode, and he couldn't stop. He knew the crashes were coming. He knew every time he threw that Suzuki sideways into a corner at impossible speed that the odds were shrinking. But he couldn't ride any other way. Oh, that's what he feared most. Not falling, but the knowledge that he would never be able to stop himself from falling. That's why he retired in 1995. Not because the fear won, but because he finally understood it never would. Kevin Schwantz was never meant to be a champion. He was meant to be a storm. Wild, destructive, beautiful. And at 59, the storm has finally gone quiet long enough to speak the truth. Eddie Lawson broke his confidence. Mick Doohan showed him fury. Wayne Gardner showed him chaos. Rainey broke his heart, and he broke himself. Subscribe for